There is a way to craft a resolution authority to effectively wind down systemic institutions without creating moral hazard. Unfortunately, this bill before us fails to do so. Rather, it codifies too big to fail and government bailouts. This is something to which I could never agree. The Dodd bill also proposes a revolutionary regulatory consolidation scheme wherein all prudential banking authority is consolidated in a single federal regulator. Heretofore, I have expressed serious concerns with this particular approach, especially as it relates to our dual banking system. The chairman asserts that this new regulatory construct preserves and protects our dual banking system. Once again, I respectfully disagree. In fact, the Dodd proposal threatens the very existence of the dual banking system by placing all banks, state and federal, under a single mammoth federal regulator. The dual banking system, which allows for both the federal government and the states to charter financial institutions, is one of the cornerstones of American federalism. By subjecting all insured depositories, state and federal, to the same rules, regulations, and supervision, the Dodd plan will, over time, I believe, erase the distinction between state and federal charters. And as a result, I fear state charters will eventually be pushed to the side. Perhaps realizing this danger, the chairman has included throughout his proposal a number of bureaucratic band-aids, such as the State Bank Advisory Board and the Community Bank Division. I believe these will be ineffective and could even do more harm than good. Under Section 314 of the bill, the Community Bank Division would regulate and supervise state and federal banks alike, the emphasis being on size rather than charter. The State Bank Advisory Board would require 5 state banking commissioners serving 2-year terms to make non-binding recommendations regarding a state-chartered institution, thus performing the role of a token appendage to the consolidated regulator. Although the Dodd proposal recognizes a legitimate need for consolidation among the various current prudential regulators, the proposal strips the FDIC of all of its power to be the primary regulator for many state-chartered institutions. Furthermore, the whole reason that state-chartered depositories are subject to any federal prudential regulation in the first place is because they have deposit insurance. It stands to reason that the FDIC and not the National Bank Supervisor is the most appropriate agency to oversee these state-chartered banks. Our substitute at the right time will preserve the FDIC's authority in this area. The Dodd bill before us would also create a new and independent consumer protection agency. While we share the goal of enhancing consumer protection, we do not agree on the means to achieve it. I believe that a safe and sound banking system is the best consumer protection we could ever have. For example, a prudently underwritten loan provides protection for both the consumer and the bank that issues it. In order to achieve that goal, the prudential regulator must be responsible, I believe, for consumer protection. The Dodd plan would separate safety and soundness regulation from consumer regulation. This is, I believe, a fundamentally flawed construct that was clearly demonstrated when Fannie and Freddie went under. To the extent that current regulators fail to protect consumers, I think we should hold them accountable, and we haven't. Instead of doing so, the Dodd plan creates a massive new bureaucracy, to which it then delegates a considerable amount of congressional authority. In a hearing held just yesterday, Chairman Dodd indicated that it was unreasonable to expect Congress to act every time a commercial practice needs to be addressed. I would argue that it's unreasonable and unwise to delegate our constitutional responsibilities just because it may take longer than some would wish. Finally, the Dodd consumer proposal before us would give the new bureaucracy a dual mandate, quote, to protect consumers and ensure that they have access to credit and financial products. An agency that requires financial firms to provide products to consumers repeats the same dangerous practices that led to unqualified consumers receiving mortgages they couldn't afford. I think 2 failed GSEs are enough for now. Our substitute at the right time would propose a construct where consumer protection is housed within the prudential regulator, but at the same time is elevated at granted parity and authority with the other regulatory disciplines. It would also enjoy greater access to and visibility with us, the Congress. The Chairman's derivatives proposal claims to address systemic risk and protect taxpayers from bailouts by forcing more derivatives trading into clearinghouses. In reality, this proposal, as now written, fails to address certain risk and actually increases the possibility that taxpayers could need to bail out one or more of those too big to fail clearinghouses. The Dodd Plan is supposed to bring transparency and accountability to the derivatives market. In reality, it establishes a bureaucracy in introducing unnecessary complexity that creates inefficiencies for market participants and regulators. The proposal claims to address excessive risk-taking in the over-the-counter derivatives market. The regulations imposed on the use of derivatives, however, will prohibit manufacturers and other companies from protecting themselves from many risks. As a result, I believe they will build fewer plants, hire fewer workers, and expose consumers to greater price volatility. In other words, the job creators of Main Street will pay for the sins of Wall Street. The Chairman's derivatives plan relies heavily on complex, bureaucratic processes involving multiple regulators, including the SEC, the CFTC, and the newly proposed agency in his proposal for financial stability. This approach, a lot of us believe, creates unnecessary bureaucracy and will delay critical changes, such as the establishment of a comprehensive transaction reporting system. Moreover, it blurs the lines of regulatory accountability, laying the groundwork for future regulatory failures and cross-agency finger-pointing. Finally, the derivatives title imposes punitive capital requirements for uncleared trades that will serve as a perverse incentive to clear trades that are not suitable for clearing. As a result, central clearinghouses will be under pressure to engage in unwarranted risk-taking. Finally, the bill proposed before us contains a number of provisions that have nothing at all to do with the financial crisis, but everything to do with politics. Whatever the impetus behind these provisions, each would be significant change in policy requiring some sort of committee examination. As we all know, the committee has held no specific hearings to examine any of those proposals. Once again, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for the length of my statement, but you have given us a great deal to consider. For every reasons I have enumerated here and for a number that I have not, at this point I will be opposing this legislation, not because we disagree on its ends, but rather on its means. For this reason, I will remain hopeful that we may yet find some common ground, and it's been my custom over the years. I continue to be open-minded and hope to work with you.
Well, I thank you for the endorsement of the bill. And